Hello everyone, and welcome back to day 2 of theCUBE's live coverage of KubeCon CloudNativeCon EU, live in Amsterdam. I'm your host, Rebecca Knight, and I'm alongside Rob Strechay for day 2. And we're talking about new products dropping, new releases, very exciting.
I think what's so awesome is that there's so much upstream that is making its way out into production with customers, and so many interesting things that are going to help them into the future as we go into this agentic world.
Well, and this agentic world is this brave new agentic world. So with that, I would like to introduce our next guest. We have Siamak Sadeghianfar. He is the Senior Manager, Product Management at Red Hat. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Siamak.
Thanks for having us.
And Daniel Messer, Senior Manager, Product Management at Red Hat. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So Daniel, I'm going to start with you because OpenShift 4.21 just released this week, which is a big moment. Before we get into the specifics, why don't you talk a little bit about the threads that are tying this release together? Was there a single problem that you were trying to solve for customers here?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there are actually two problems because they originate from an ask that's being put on senior IT leaders that are asking for two seemingly opposed things. Like on the one hand, extend these massive, capital expensive AI projects, while at the same time rein in the massive infrastructure sprawl we have, right? So consequently, we have aligned 4.21 against that problem statement. So we have downstreamed and invested upstream in projects that increase the efficiency of the hardware you already have, specifically for AI workloads. So everybody knows, like, if you try to get a GPU these days, it's almost impossible, right? And in an enterprise environment, it's an order of magnitude worse. So you really have to make sure that these expensive GPUs are not underutilized or not well managed. So things like dynamic resource allocation, that framework, or new APIs that just went GA in 4.21, like the JobSet, additional API enhancements in LeaderWorkerSet, they all strive to basically increase the ROI on that expensive hardware that you've already bought. So you make sure you get the most out of it, what you already have, right? And then at the same time, we have this trend that people don't think of Kubernetes and OpenShift as just a place to run containers and like cloud native app. We think it's a place where you can run both, like cloud native, modern workloads, AI workloads, and workloads that are in virtual machines. So we've been investing a lot in the KubeVirt upstream project to make sure that is a viable, adaptable target for enterprise and organizations that are looking to modernize their virtualization landscape. So we make those administrators with their workflows and their mental concepts feel right at home, starting with the UI, right? Very familiar setup, very familiar interface, familiar terminology, and add UI-based configuration flows, now in 4.21 for multi-cluster use cases, for advanced network topologies that you typically have in these environments, as well as bring in the resource utilization at the VM and optimization there by supporting, for instance, now in 4.21, the ability to slice up GPU hardware into vGPUs and attach them directly to virtual machines. So it's all about resource efficiency, utilization increase, and convergence of workloads on the Kubernetes platform with OpenShift.
So Siamak, help connect that back to what's going on here this week. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there was a ton in day 0. I mean, I was at Commons for a little bit and then hopped around, just the number of days, the fact that those days have now stretched into where they're having different groups going on during the week now because they can't fit it all into day 0. How has the reaction been to 4.21 and to what's going on? Because you guys follow the upstream very closely from that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fantastic to see the lively events on day 0, from ArgoCon to BackstageCon and other events that I just passed by. It's still crazy how many people are attending, but that's exactly what makes OpenShift unique. OpenShift, we say it's an application platform. It's not just Kubernetes, and what it really means is that we go beyond Kubernetes, bring in these active, really valuable CNCF projects like Argo CD, like Backstage, like Tekton, it has just joined CNCF this week. The announcement went out. Istio, Knative, there are many projects that we are involved in CNCF, invest and bring into the platform, and on every release you see how these capabilities are evolving and maturing. So specifically in 4.21, for Developer Hub, which is the downstream of Backstage, we brought MCP servers because we're seeing a lot that this movements around platform engineering and internal developer platform is going beyond just for application development, expanding into AI/ML personas for data scientists and more of the other roles that are involved in building different type of workloads, AR workloads, traditional application, and even telco workloads that are looking for similar capabilities, central place, central pane of glass across all the different type of apps that they have created. A simple way to get started with scaffolding based on the compliance of the company, the governance of what type of models they can use, what type of technology they can use in their AI app. So we are, in this release, we brought some of those capabilities that especially in sync with Red Hat AI can really publish this type of catalog item, this type of templates into the developer hub for AI/ML engineers to be able to consume it. Around the Argo CD is like hugely popular. It's amazing to see the excitement around the project and also the vendors in the booths. We see like a constant flow of people coming in. What we did in this release specifically is bring a new architecture for running Argo CD. A lot of our customers employ GitOps workflows for deploying application across like large fleets, both on-prem and public cloud. And one of the challenges they have is that they're running a lot of Argo CD instances and they're in trouble of how to manage all of this. They have 50, 100, 200 Argo instances. And this new architecture with Argo CD agent really simplifies that flow. You have smaller agents that are running on each of the cluster. You have central visibility, central way to govern all these instances, to configure them. Really makes it simple for customers to run Argo CD at scale. And I have had multiple talks with customers today that they're really excited about these areas as well. On the Tekton front, we're like hugely proud of the journey we've made with Tekton, like bringing it into CNCF finally. There are multiple areas that we recently announced that's contributing upstream, and specifically in this release, we are helping customers to be more efficient when they're operating Tekton. Our customers who use Tekton pipelines for automating application build and delivery, they run it at huge scales. Huge scales means they're running thousands of pipelines at every minute, right? And this is quite intensive on Kubernetes. So we have to work a lot on how we manage its CD, different objects that are produced around it to make it simpler for those clusters and make it like able to cope with the load that the stress that Argo puts on those, Tekton puts on those clusters. Another really exciting area is Istio for us, Service Mesh. Service Mesh popularity had a kind of a like U-shape, and we're seeing like an increased wave of interest around it because it makes it so simple to manage application traffic and networking aspect at the application level, which platform engineers frankly love, but also the security aspects. It makes it really simple to enable security with just a switch for all your application on the cluster without having to go back to the application teams to go modify the application, and this resonates with a lot of our customers. A complaint that we have been hearing though is that because Istio requires a sidecar for every service that is running, that it adds to the footprint of services on the cluster, and some of our customers do not like that overhead. So we invested in bringing Ambient Mesh into the platform that is supported in 421, and what
so
we added-
So you went sidecar-less.
Sidecar-less,
Yes,
exactly. So there are no sidecars in there anymore. Like you
Yes.
just run your pods and they're part of a mesh, and we brought FIPS compliance in this release. A lot of our customers run in regulated environments, right? They need to have FIPS compliant at all the layers of stack, so that's also coming in this release.
Yeah.
So you mentioned security, you mentioned productivity. I'm wondering how, these are things that a lot of releases promise, and that often people are, leaders, the developers themselves are a little skeptical about, well, okay, will this really change my day-to-day productivity, or how much I can just trust that this is happening in the way I expect it to. Can you describe for me how it will, how a developer's day will look different with this in terms of increasing the productivity?
Yeah, absolutely, and 100% agree with you. There is like a lot of promise around this aspect. For us at OpenShift, these are really themes. Like if you talk to me 6 months from now, year from now, you would see still the same theme because we have laser focus on really bringing developer productivity through different components of CNCF that we're bringing to the platform, but also automating application delivery through different components that I mentioned. So we just these are the themes that we operate on, and over the last 5 years, we have been building toward this. But really in the day-to-day life of developers from a productivity perspective, you would see it from projects like Podman Desktop that also came into the CNCF, and we have in this release brought it downstream as a Red Hat build of Podman Desktop. Make it really easy for developers on their workstation to be able to run containers and test and iterate. Most developers are most productive on their workstation, their laptop, on their machine. So we want to make sure to have access to all these capabilities right, starting from there with a supported suite with the exact same stack that eventually would run in production to prevent issues that works on my machine, but as soon as I deploy it on the server, it doesn't run the same way. So that's the starting point. Then we are seeing a huge surge around web IDEs. That's also a little bit interesting for us because web IDEs have been around for a long time, and the community relationship with it has been hot and cold a little bit. It goes up and comes down, and we are seeing again a hockey stick level of interest in it. A little bit driven by security aspects, sovereignty, and other factors that come into play. And we invest a lot in OpenShift dev spaces that gives essentially developers a one-click, web-based, regulated development environments with all the capabilities that they have on their workstation, but also in their IDE, with the difference that they don't have to manage the dependencies and configuration themselves. You ask any developers, they change laptop or change project, takes a week to get up to speed, right? We reduce that to a one-click with dev spaces.
So when you are talking to customers and you're sitting there, especially this week in Europe, a lot of the discussion is about simplification, and one of the things that really, we were talking to the KubeVirt folks earlier on yesterday, and hopefully it graduates in Salt Lake, so hopefully we'll be graduated at that point, because I know a lot of people are looking at it and starting to use it because they want to simplify their infrastructure and they want to bring that together in a platform engineering way. Is that a lot of the conversations you're seeing as well, is that people are, it's not just about the AI, it's how to bring things together?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's obviously driven by two major factors, right? So one is rising cost, right? And finding an alternative to tame software licensing costs for that particular part of your infrastructure. But at the same time, it's also this ability to reapply what you have already learned and been accustomed to in Kubernetes workloads, in this mental concept, model of Kubernetes APIs that all look very similar, right? Have a group version kind, a spec section, status section. So it turns out this approach of using that API-driven orchestration lends itself very well to a lot of problem domains, and virtualization is included in that, right? And you have now this ability to be declarative about how you want your virtual machines to run, how you want the networks to look like, how do you want the storage to be attached, while still have this mobility of the workloads across the platform. In the same way you manage containers, right? Or serverless functions, or a set of microservices in a service mesh. It's a very powerful concept to reapply that, and just also consolidate it obviously on the same platform with less vendors and less attack surface for changes in different learning curves, which I think has been the power of Kubernetes all along. This very basic concept of the moment you have it, something you can apply with via kubectl, it becomes part of your life in that environment. Right. It's been very powerful to say, yeah, that is now also true for virtualization, which has always been sitting in that very different silo, even in the organization, right? We think virtualization and containers should not live in silos. They should be on one platform, and KubeVirt makes that happen.
Better together.
Yeah, absolutely.
So kind of a last thought, I think one of the big things that I've heard from folks is, because CRA is a big thing coming up here in Europe, is secure supply chain and attestation. What do you see from a secure supply chain perspective, and how are you leaning into that with this release and where you're going and supporting here in the environment?
Yeah, it's for me it feels like almost every day you can't turn around without seeing another headline news where a very popular language manager repository project got attacked via a supply chain attack, and it went out and spread. So we are trying to make OpenShift lead by example there by making it so that you can now verify the integrity of the platform itself, of the core payload specifically, with Sigstore-based signatures, which also makes it much easier to do that in an offline environment, where frankly a lot of our customers are, right? And we can't make it so that this depends on online connectivity or only works in a certain way when you are directly connected. So that's the platform verifying itself, and the APIs we introduced to let the platform do that can also be used by our customers and the workloads. So anything they generate in pipelines like Tecton, and then roll out in service meshes or serverless functions, they can verify the integrity of that in the exact same way with the exact same tool set, which comes from the Sigstore upstream project that Red Hat contributed to. And that's something that is now part of the platform, out of the box. But we also deliver an additional set of product capabilities in the Red Hat Trusted Artifact Signer space, where you can stand up the Sigstore infrastructure on-premise or in a self-managed way to sign everything that you create. Basically all images, any kind of blob, any kind of manifest, even AI models, you can sign with that and effectively verify without waiting hours for a 100 gig set of weights to be verified. And that allows you to really reason about, is this what I subsumed from upstream that I made part of my own stack and I produced in-house, is that really the thing that is now running in production? And checking that at multiple layers with Sigstore, for instance, but also with features in our registry, with Quay, for instance, the ability to say you cannot override a certain tag anymore. It's immutable now, which has an additional integrity guarantee with it. It's very powerful and builds up that multi-layer defense that you actually need to really confidently say, yeah, I'm doing everything I can in order to secure my supply chain, reason about what my supply chain actually looks like, and make sure that what I saw here is actually now the same thing, ensured by mathematics, basically, cryptography in production.
Excellent. Well, Siamak and Daniel, thank you both so much for coming on theCUBE. A really interesting conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
I'm Rebecca Knight for Rob Strechay. Stay tuned for more of theCUBE's live coverage of KubeCon. You're watching theCUBE, the leader in enterprise tech news and analysis.